Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Inga Cotton. I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms. And today, Charter Mom Chats is on the road. Actually, wait, if you want to pop your head in. My daughter just got to check up. She has a little fever today, but she's gonna be okay. So I have a wingman, but I'm really proud to and grateful to be on the very busy schedule of Dr. Sarah Baray, who's the CEO of Pre-K for SA. And we meant to do this earlier in February because the beginning of February is when open enrollment starts for Pre-K for SA. But it's still February, and they're still taking applications for kids who will be 4 years old in the next school year. So Dr. Baray, thank you so much for joining me on Charter Moms Chat so we can talk about Pre-K for SA and San Antonio families can learn about this option.
Great. Thanks for having me. I'm always excited to talk about Pre-K for SA and always excited to be on the show with all of your listeners because you have such a great group.
Thank you. Yes, that's my cue to plug the San Antonio Charter Moms discussion group, and they've been looking forward to this. They've been asking questions. Say, be sure to ask Dr. Bray this. So I'll be working their questions into the set that I sent you to prep for this. So okay, so Sarah, for people who are not familiar with Pre-K for SA, can you kind of explain the mission and what it's planning to do? Like, I know that you could just define it as like, oh, it's early childhood education for 4-year-olds, but it's really a big picture thing as far as the workforce in San Antonio and like how we want to change within a generation what the workforce in San Antonio is like.
Yeah, so San Antonio is a huge early learning initiative focused on creating a world-class workforce in San Antonio in one generation through high-quality early learning. And so a lot of people know about our 4 amazing education centers where we serve 2,000 4-year-olds each year, but we also provide best-in-class professional learning for any early educator who's working with children birth through age 8, as well as provide grants, over $4 million in grants to other programs, including charter schools, home-based providers, anyone that's working with young children. We want to help support you through grants and professional learning. And then also, of course, with families, because families are a critical component of children's education at all levels, but most especially in the early years. And so it's a really big, bold initiative and one that's being followed across the nation because it is so much more than just saying, hey, we're going to provide 4-year-old education. We're going to try and really change the landscape. So it's a great organization to be part of.
Yeah, the impact goes beyond just the students who actually attend at a Pre-K for SA center, because of the professional development and the grants to other child care centers and and just being presenting like what does excellent early childhood education look like. These are demonstration schools that folks can visit and see what's possible.
That's right.
So I wanted to ask.
That's really their point. I was just saying that's really the point, is to show what's possible when young children have access to highly skilled teachers and evidence-based curriculum. And what we know is they learn at very high levels. And so we're proof positive of that. And we want to create more programs that are doing that the same way.
Yeah. So, okay. So some of the questions that came up from the moms and dads in the discussion group, they're wondering about access to Pre-K for SA. So for some families, it's free. For other families, there's tuition on a sliding scale, and they're wondering like, what are the plans for growth, or is there going to be changes to the tuition costs or things like that?
Yeah, so right now, any child who is 4 by September 1st is eligible to apply. And as you said, if the family meets one of the criteria set by the state, the child can go free. But we also offer scholarships for families that don't qualify based on the state criteria so make up to about $75,000 a year for a family of 4. They also go free because we know that those middle-class families often are left out of some of the benefits, and we want to make sure that they have access to high quality early learning too. But even for families that make more than that, we have a very affordable sliding scale tuition that is well below what you would pay in the market rate, because we want every family that wants their child to have access to high quality early learning to do that. And so we are open to every 4-year-old in San Antonio, and we hope that they all apply. And we have our application went live February 1st, and so we're enrolling right now, but we still have seats at all of our centers right now.
Okay, so I'm going to pop it up on the screen again. So Pre-K for SA, and it's the number 4. So in case if anyone's listening on the podcast, they can't see what's on the screen, but it's PREK, the number 4, SA.com. And then
Right.
that has a lot of information about the program, and it also has a link to the application.
Right. And we have specialists because we know that for many of our families, this is the first time their children are going to school, and registration can be a little intimidating. So we have registration specialists that will walk you through, help you from start to finish, all the way from getting your paperwork in, but also getting your child into a seat in August, and also connect you to some of our events that are taking place from now across the summer, because we know that getting ready for pre-K starts right now, and families want to get connected to one another, the children want to get connected. So all throughout the spring and summer, we offer come play with pre-K for SA events. Some of those are at our own centers, but some of them are at parks. They're always free. They're always family friendly. And it's not just for the 4-year-olds, it's for the whole family, because we know that families come as a unit, and we want to engage the entire family and make our contacts with them really meaningful for everybody in the whole family.
Yeah. Well, I'm one thing I've learned from, like, before the pandemic, when I got to visit the centers, is that like things like explorations in the community, and like the kind of support, like in the sort of parent cafes that so I'm not surprised at all that you guys are going out in the community and, to introduce pre-K first aid to families and to help new pre-K first aid families to form a community. That's the feedback we've gotten from, like, group members whose kids are like alumni of pre-K first aid, is that they felt like there was a lot of communication and support. And they like learning things about parenting and like getting to know our city better. And yeah, so I guess what's the, under the sort of current health conditions, like what kinds of events are you able to do? I know there's virtual events, but are there in-person events as well? It's like outdoors at parks.
There are. We're going back to in-person events, even some of them in the centers. As a matter of fact, we're offering tours, once again, small numbers. And we do ask people to mask up just for safety, but we are trying to normalize. We really think it's important that our children get back to a normal experience as soon as possible. And so we've been doing that slowly over the year, introducing things as our guiding physician says it's safe to do. And so we are holding events at our centers, like our outdoor learning spaces, at parks, some of those places that are just easy for families to get to. But you can sign up to go on a tour. If you've never been in a pre-K for SA center and you have a 4-year-old and you're wondering if we're the right place for you, do go to our website and sign up for a tour. One of our directors will be happy to show you around, let you see into our classrooms, because they really are magical places. We say we're a seeing is believing program. Once you see it, you understand what high quality early learning looks like. And so we want families to know what's out there, and hopefully they think that we're the option for them. But even if we're not, we can help connect them to a program that might suit their family's needs, whether it's location or other resources. And the same is true for kindergarten. We know we have a lot of families right now that pre-K children are moving into kindergarten. And so we're trying to help families connect to the appropriate kindergarten program for them too, because we know there's lots of choices out there, and we want families to make a decision that makes sense for them.
Yeah, I want to say thank you, because your team, I think, has been helping families to discover San Antonio Charter Moms, because we, at some of our School Discovery Day events, we've had families come up and we ask them, how did you hear about our event? And they'll say, well, we heard about it through pre-K for SA. And so we really appreciate that. Like, we're trying to support those families with 4-year-olds, trying to find good kindergarten options. And I appreciate that, like, we're all on the same page, trying to help families find the best settings for their kids where they can, grow and learn and have that good foundation.
Yeah, that's really important. Families have so much to consider, and they're such a critical part, obviously, of a child's education journey. And so our mission is really in working with families to equip them with the knowledge and skills to help them be the best advocates, not only for their own children, but for children in general across San Antonio, because we think that our schools, our whole system will continue to improve the more that parents have a voice in that system, the more that parents are able to advocate for their needs. I've been an educator for a long time. And I've always found that when we engage with our families in meaningful conversations and really listen to what they're telling us, we're all better off for it. And so we appreciate San Antonio Charter Moms, because we know that you're a venue for that, and appreciate opportunities to really engage with families and help connect them to one another, because that community of families talking together is really important too. And so I'm so excited to be part of San Antonio, where we think it's such an active family community around education, which is really great.
Yeah. So I'm thinking back about, you mentioned, like, it's great that tours are now available again at the pre-K first aid centers. And I'm thinking back about like things that I observed in the past when I was able to visit. One was how much play is going on, like how it doesn't feel like, maybe like upper elementary, like where, it's more academic. And I know parents are concerned about that, about what's the right balance between, kind of play-based or, academic type early learning. And then the other thing was, I remember observing that some classrooms were like bilingual or dual language classrooms. And that's something that the folks in our group were asking about. So I was wondering, can you kind of comment on, sort of the value of learning through play as opposed to trying to introduce academics at a really young age? And then talk about the sort of English Spanish aspect.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll start with the multilingual aspect because it's so important. We're in San Antonio, we're so fortunate to have so many people who speak multiple languages. And we know that when young children's multilingualism is supported, that's actually the best way they become strong English learners, but also that they then develop strong brains who have the capacity to speak multiple languages, which is a critical skill in this ever expanding world where we are crossing technology allows us to cross borders instantly and speak with people in other languages. And so we do have bilingual classrooms. And right now we offer English, Spanish, but we have, like at our North Center, we have over 36 languages that are spoken in the homes of our families. And we support that too. We want children to understand that speaking a different language is really a strength. And so that multilingualism is something that we continue to think about, and how do we better serve and perhaps begin to offer even more options there. But for now, it's English, Spanish. And then in terms of play, well, we know, there's more than 50 years of research into early learning that says young children learn best through play. And it's not really the difference between play versus academics. For young children, play is academic because it's building their brains. What early learning is really about is building a strong brain infrastructure, because most of our brain development happens before the age of 5, and that brain architecture we have at 5 will be the brain architecture we have for the vast majority of our life. Our brains continue to grow, but if we do it right and help children build a strong brain, then they're able to learn at much higher levels later on, because they'll be able to build on the scaffold on that early brain development. And so I don't know, some of your charter mom group is probably very active in reading about education studies. And there was a recent study about Tennessee, and got a lot of press about how the Tennessee state pre-K program was showing not the kind of results that you might expect. Like, their children were not ahead. They seemed to have a fade out effect in 3rd grade. But what the researcher concluded was, well, that's because Tennessee wasn't a play-based program, and that maybe what we ought to do is let young children get back to playing, because it's through playing that children learn to have their base academic skills, build strong brains, if they're playing with a teacher who knows how to ask good questions, to structure the environment so that they're learning the things that they need to learn and building on what children do naturally. So we are very much a play-based program, and it's why we get the outstanding outcomes that we get, because we've read the research and we really live by it, because we know that that's what helps our children in the long run. So, and we're excited. There's lots of programs in San Antonio that are now following suit, and also understand that child's work is play, and that we need to allow them to do that, so that then when it's appropriate at the 2nd, 3rd grade level, they're able to begin to do more what we call traditional academic structures.
Great. Well, thank you. That's a great explanation for, let's see, are we still? Having a little bit of technical difficulties, some internet connectivity issues. Back on the.
Uh-oh,
we're back. We're back. Okay, thank you for rejoining. I think my hotspot let me down, but no. I'm getting photobombed again. Okay, thank you for your patience. This is the on the road edition of Charter Moms Chats. So I think no, you gave at least it. I think you were able to give a complete answer to the question about the play-based learning, and I just want to reinforce what you were saying, which is So it's not a trade-off between play-based and academics. For young children, playing is what they need. That is their work, and that is what lays the foundation for the academics when they get into higher grades. And the research shows that pre-K first A is effective, and it's serving as an example of play-based learning so that other early childhood programs in San Antonio can also adopt those research-based methods that are fun for kids, and it's the right way to help their brains develop.
Yeah, because learning should be joyful for both the children and the teachers. And that's really the key is when, and this is true for all of us, right? When we enjoy what we're doing, we learn at higher levels. And so giving young children the opportunity to explore and really think and tinker and wonder about things is how they build those strong brain synapses. And so it's really important. And we're so fortunate in San Antonio to have so many dedicated early learning teachers that are doing just that.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to go touch back on something you mentioned that that pre-K first aid consults with medical experts and public health experts to make sure that kids are safe on campus, and the circumstances keep changing, but I think there's a sense of optimism that we can bring some things back that we couldn't have before, like like school tours or in-person meetings, but just doing it in a safe way. So what kind of advice or reassurance can you offer to families who are maybe have been keeping their kids home, but are interested in getting them, back in a school setting?
Yeah. Well, one thing I would say is that every day matters because the brains of young children are developing 1 million synapses a second. And so not just every day matters, but every minute matters. So if you haven't had your child in pre-K and you want them, it's well worth it, even though we're in the second semester, to enroll them today so that they will have that opportunity for the rest of the school year. But what we've done, we've learned a lot over the last 2 years about COVID, as has everybody. In the beginning, we wondered whether, we'd have to, kids couldn't touch things, or, we knew that you can't put children and separate them from each other. That just wasn't normal and natural. So we, right off the bat, said, well, we're not doing that. But we've learned that obviously it's an airborne illness. So we continue to sanitize because we've always sanitized, but that's actually more for cold and flu germs and some of the other germs that happen than it is for COVID. And then because our young children can't be vaccinated, we do continue to wear masks because our 4-year-olds aren't yet eligible. And we've also seen a tremendous decline in some of the other respiratory illnesses that we typically see at this time of year because the children and teachers are in masks. And so we are beginning to think about, well, how do we do that in the years going forward once COVID is just a kind of like the flu? When do we put masks on so that we try to prevent the spread so that children can continue to go to school? So we have seen, like other schools, that the spread doesn't happen in school. It's actually happening outside of school. And we have weekly COVID testing. We do daily health screenings, all those things that make sure that we can stay open and stay safe for children and families, and connecting them to medical providers that can help them determine, is this COVID or is this something else that's going on with our kids? And so we feel very, very grateful that we've been able to stay open the whole time and really do so in a safe manner, and are so appreciative of our medical professionals in San Antonio who have given us that guidance, and for our parents who have helped us figure out some things along the line too. And so we know schools are safe. So if parents have been waiting on that, we think we have the evidence to show that our schools are really a safe place for kids to be, and they need to be there. They need to be interacting with other kids. They need to have those experiences because they're only 4 once, and that brain development is happening whether they're in a pandemic or not in a pandemic. And so we want to make sure that every child has the opportunity to develop that strong brain by interacting with a highly skilled teacher and other kids in the classroom where they can learn from one another.
Yeah. So the lessons of COVID are that schools have all developed playbooks on, how to keep kids safe and how to keep schools open and keep kids in schools learning safely. Because, yeah, as you said, like there's skills that they learn from interacting with the teachers and also from interacting with each other, and that's part of that, the play that they do. That's their work, and then that lays the foundation so that when they go on to kindergarten, they're ready to hit the ground running.
Absolutely, yeah. And we, with Omicron coming on, we expected it because our physician told us this is what would happen. He has really been helping us to understand how this whole cycle works. And so we can anticipate that and be ready for, what do we need to do? What do we need to expect? And so we know that right now things are declining in the community, and that's great, but we don't think it's going to be our last wave. So we've got our strategies in place, and we're going to continue to work them because, again, our goal is to have a very normal experience for children, and so that they don't feel the pressure and the stress of, what many adults feel in the pandemic. We want them to have that joyful learning experience in our classrooms so they can be kids. And we think we've achieved that pretty well, and we're really happy about that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so I want to make sure that we reinforce to folks that open enrollment is happening and what they can do for that. But as you mentioned, like the Omicron wave is declining. Now, it's probably not the last wave, but we may be at a moment where families are feeling more confident about enrolling their kids in an in-person setting. So are there open seats at some of the centers currently for current 4-year-olds?
There are. So currently at our South Center, and we have a few at our East Center, we do have some seats, but call us because we can always work with families and find out if you have a good child who's 4 right now who's eligible for pre-K, give us a call. We're still enrolling because it's been a little bit different this year. We've seen families continue to enroll. Usually by this time of the year, families aren't enrolling anymore unless they're getting ready for next year. But we've continued to see families who feel safe about coming back and they're bringing their child, and we welcome them, and it'll be a great experience. So do that. Call us. Let us know that you're ready right now. But if you've got a child who's turning 4 ready for next year, we're also enrolling for next year. And so please reach out. You can go to our website and hit the Apply Now button. You can give us a call, or you can stop by a center, and we'll be happy to help you. One of our specialists will walk you through, help you understand what's needed, what the options are. We have transportation. We provide food. We just want to make it as easy as possible for the families. And again, we want to get you connected to other families and other children so that you can begin to think about and prepare for that pre-K experience, and you don't have to wait until the start of school, because we know once kids start thinking about it, they're like, okay, I want to go now. And 4-year-olds don't really have a concept of time. And so we want to make sure that they feel like they're getting that connection right away, so they stay excited about school, and they have some things to do over the summer that will help prepare them for the school experience.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so to recap, so some things families can do if they're, maybe they've been curious about pre-K first A, or maybe like just now their kids are getting to the right age eligibility. Maybe they're hearing about it for the first time, but they can go to prekforsa.com, and there's an application there, but that's also a good way to get more information. So they can call one of the centers, they can find the address and visit one of the centers, get help with the application that way. That's how they can reach out and set up a school tour. Just kind of see for themselves, like, what's unique about pre-K first A, why it's this showing leadership in high quality early childhood education. Okay, did I, those are all the different methods. Well, they can come to School Discovery Day, right?
Yeah, they can come to School Discovery Day, of course, right? Because those are a great way. And I also want to mention that this weekend we're actually having a job fair. So if there are moms or parents out there who are interested in potentially getting into early learning as a job, a career, we'd be happy to visit with you too, because we're beginning to hire for next year as well. And sometimes we often our very best employees come out of our parent groups who they obviously have experience with children and they understand our ways. And so they've really joined our group. So happy to have that too. So it's another possibility of interacting with Pre-K for SA as coming to one of our job fairs.
Yeah. Families who are, I know the SA Turn Moms community is full of moms, dads, and caregivers who are obsessed with education. And some of them do. I have seen them, become like, school employees or even school founders in different ways. And yeah, Pre-K for SA is a great learning opportunity. And I just encourage anybody, if you want to interact with alumni, parents of graduates of Pre-K for SA, we've got many of them in the SA Turn Moms group. And if you ask about Pre-K for SA, or you search previous posts or discussion threads, you'll get a lot of positive feedback about Pre-K for SA and the good experiences they've had. Everything, including like things like the meals and the buses and just all the little details that Pre-K for SA does such a good job on.
I appreciate you saying that. We think about young children all day, every day, and how to make things better. And we always welcome feedback from our families to figure out how do we continue to improve and make it a great experience for everybody, because we think it's so important. And even if you are wanting information about professional learning or any of the other supports, you can get those from our website. Also, we're always engaging with people that are providing early learning in lots of different formats. We know we have lots of different providers across the city, and we want to be a support to them as well. So encourage everyone to take a look at our website and see what we have to offer.
Yeah. Well, Sarah, I think we answered. I had my notes of all the little questions that the group members had, and you've done a great job covering those. And we talked about what the mission is and like how families can get connected, get their kids enrolled. Do you have kind of any closing thoughts you want to offer before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to say that we're continuing. We're in our second authorization. We got reauthorized in 2020. And so we are continuing to think about how do we expand, not necessarily build a bunch of new pre-K first aid centers, but how do we work with other programs to expand the great things that we've learned at pre-K first aid. And some of you may have seen that Texas A&M University is going to open up an EduCare site, which is going to serve children birth through age 5. And pre-K first aid is going to be the operating partner there. So we're excited that's going to be opening up in the next couple of years. So just continue to think about ways that we can serve more children and families and make sure that every young child has access to a highly skilled teacher and evidence-based curriculum, because we know that's going to make sure that San Antonio has a bright future. So we're excited about what's going on and very excited to be part of San Antonio community and appreciate the opportunity to speak with SA Charter Moms, because like I said, you guys are a great group and we're super fans of yours, and we know that lots of our families are also part of your group. So really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited about what pre-K first aid does. I get excited when I see like the research studies showing that what an impact it's having, and I'm excited to see it continue to evolve, and to be able to reach and support more students.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, I look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, and thank you for doing it from the car. Like, it just reminds me, like, as a mom, we end up doing these things, and so it's just our life, right? That's what we have to do.
Yeah. Hey, Annika, you want to say goodbye? You want to say goodbye, and we wrap up the video? Where's she? There she is. Oops, on the right side. There we go. All right.
Hope you feel better.
Thank you. Okay, take care.